Okay. I'll just have to hide the video so I can see what I'm thinking here. So, welcome to these exercises on creative thinking about the United Nations SDGs in higher education. Thank you so much for coming. Please be inspired. Try, slip, and try again. These exercises, they are constantly evolving. And I've had the pleasure of giving similar exercises to bachelor physiotherapy students in Western Norway University of Applied Sciences, as well as bachelor nursing at Western Norway University of Applied Sciences. And I've had the pleasure of giving similar exercises to colleagues in interprofessional groups and courses. I work as an assistant professor in Bergen in Western University of Applied Sciences. I'm going to call it HVL from now on, so that you know. I find a lot of inspiration in interprofessional collaboration. My main topics of teaching are public health and social and political science, but this is no public health session, it's for all. HVL are incorporating the UN SDGs in the strategies. And as a lecturer, I'm trying my best, and we are all trying our best to find our roles when teaching and trying to incorporate the SDGs in teaching. As I said before, I have no perfect, flawless answers to any of the topics here. I'm always trying to encourage the students and others to think creatively about the topics. And please feel free to join and to be creative and tell the others in the session a little about what your background is and what your context is when you share your ideas, because that will make it easier for the other participants to grasp what you're working in and what you're working on. There will be quite a few exercises in this session, and I hope you will just toss your ideas out there. Super. So, if there are any one of you coming from Northern Norway, are there any one of you from Northern Norway? Yes, there we have one. Hi, at least here, yes. Okay, super. This is an avalanche closing a main road in Northern Norway. Dr. Mads Gilbert, he has worked in emergency medicine, locally and globally, for ages. He states avalanches as a public health challenge in Northern Norway. This is because of the consequences for the communities and the unpredictability that lies in the avalanche's nature. And as you all know, climate changes, they affect us in Norway like in the rest of the world. We have more floods, we have more avalanches, we have more extreme weather, we have heat, we have cold temperature. And in Norway, I know we have quite good infrastructure to deal with all these changes compared to many other parts of the world. This here is a landslide from by Jølstravannet in 2019. It closed the road, the main road, E39, between Bergen and Ålesund. And that road has been hit by landslides several times. The population in this area, they live with this concern for when will next landslide come, what will happen, who will be affected. They live with this all the time. And these two examples, one from the northern part of the country and of my country, and this other one from the western part of the country, they affect my or our professional life. If you think about your own context, what challenges do you face from day to day? I know, Helga, you have just been crossing a few fjords. Could you start the discussion for me, please?
Yeah, I have, but what I have been visiting. Hello, everybody. I'm a teacher at this university college and work together with Irene. Yeah, I have been visiting students in practice and going through this landscape, and it's a pretty rough climate. But what struck my mind first when you asked your question is this. What affects all of us, I guess, this more information about wars coming closer, being in our neighborhood, getting to know the refugees from Ukraine, for instance, and now this election coming in the United States, maybe the American will withdraw from NATO. So the economic situation that is more vulnerable according to these big issues. So I think that even I can recognize affects both my professional life, because I meet people who are afraid of this and concerned about it and afraid of it, but I also can feel it on my own body. The world is really changing, but like you said, in this nature way, but also in the social way. More conflicts, more thing that has changed, and we don't know how much it will change. And so yeah, I think you are very right. These things affects us.
Thank you. Anyone else wanting to share an idea or a thought?
Yes, I can share. My name is Joop van Wiegen. I'm a colleague of Irene here at HBL. And I'm a Dutchman living in Norway. And it kind of struck me for both sides. It's especially, of course, what Helga is saying concerning the human scale of interventions and what it strikes upon us. It's the unexpected, what's constantly happening to us. We just been talking about how ridiculous it was that in our time there will be a war in Europe, and we acknowledge it. So is it still there? At the same time, if we see how extreme weather is now hitting us, and it was first me being in the Netherlands, which having more and more flooding, that you see also on time that you don't expect flooding. Normally there's a flooding at the end of the winter time into the spring that you can expect that the rivers will cross the boundaries. But now you see it on different elements. And it was not only in the Netherlands, I also experienced here in Norway, in Bergen, that so much rain and water is more that we normally can expect. And what you see, how it devastates things. So weather in itself is not something that we can control. It's around us. At the same time, also here now with storms which hit us, it's not something that we can control, and the storms are kind of breaking in, and we have to keep adapting to it. It's like you say here with a landslide. Or yesterday, I was going to basketball practice, being as a trainer there, so I had an obligation to drive. Then I drove down the mountain with the car, and then I was okay. I can't actually completely steer because you're sliding. It was kind of skiing with a car. This kind of a complete new experience, and not something that I was really happy about. And I have to say, I'm not really happy in driving cars. I prefer a bicycle, but a bicycle didn't sound even better. So this, it's kind of the unpredictability. You have to live in a different sense of with the world. It's not about control anymore.
Mhm. Thank you. And thank you for so much for sharing. Sorry. Okay, sorry. So here's an exercise I want you to think about, but not too much. Just throw things out. Since I don't know, and I don't know what all of you are doing, what all of you are working with, or what kind of professions you are. So I'm trying to make this presentation a bit generic, but with relevance for all of us. So how could it be relevant for a computer scientist, a social scientist, a teacher, or nurse to worry about an avalanche or a landslide or flooding? Would it be relevant at all? Personally, I was thinking that of the more relevant factors that was common for all of us was the unpredictability. Because we can't prepare for all of this. Helga, were you going to say something?
No, I guess it shows on my face while I am thinking. I know that this area in Jølster with the landslide, I pass it every time I go to visit my family. And I also know those who are on the farms close by. And what was special was that the year before this happened, or 2 years before it happened, they had a visit from the
Geologists.
geologists saying that in this area we do not expect a landslide. So they're living on these farms around. They have lost their fields where they were growing this and that, and where the cattle was finding food during summer. They have lost some of their income. They have because there was some difficulties with the insurances because this was this nature catastrophe. So they are worried about their income. They are worried about their future because they had planned that their son or daughter should take over the farm for the next generation. So all this insecurity affects them, and we who are dealing with health, as a nurse, for instance, we know that what is affecting people's health is a complex material, and this landslide did really expand the complexity affecting these people. So during, what am I going to plan now? What am I going to dream about? How am I going to have enough income for living? So it's a lot of worries coming with this landslide. And fright for it to happen, fright for your life. If the children was in the middle of this field, there actually was a cabin built by the grandchildren of one of the farmers. So what if? Where can the children play? So it's a lot of factors. So We need to know how to plan. We need to have dream. We need to be secure about income. So it affects a lot of the now time and also the future. And it's also this the professional knowledge was too limited to predict this. So who are we going to believe in now? Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else have any ideas they want to share?
Yes.
Yeah. No.
I would like to add a little bit about my thoughts. And immediately, I'm associate professor in Tromsø at the university in physiotherapy. And what I immediately think when I see this question, I think I want to move on to what can I do about it? I want to move on to ask myself how can I make my students interested in this question? What can I do about it? And in this, I feel really a shortcoming, because our students really ask us that. What can I do about it? Or can I actually do something about it? And if what? So, and I know. I think that what you said, Helga, just this simple and complex question: where can children play? You know, where can children play now? But what is being safe? And the reason I'm concerned about this play thing is that we are just now going into pediatrics, teaching pediatrics for physiotherapy students, and maybe a simple question like that could be the question that could engage our students, because they are themselves really close to this. They are young people and they are concerned about playing. So maybe that could be a way into giving our students a feeling of some agency. And not only our students, also us, also as teachers. Yes.
Thank you.
Can I add something?
Of course you can.
It's just a short one this time. I think this is new to us because we are living where we are living, but this knowledge, we have a lot of colleagues in international other parts of the world that have this knowledge because they have had this different kind of threats for a long time. So they have, I guess, some of the solution on this question we can find with colleagues in the different part of the world that has experienced crisis or more used to crisis than we are.
Thank you. Pablo, please.
Yes, hello and good afternoon to everyone. And it's quite befitting that Helga refers to international people. I myself are from Peru. I live and work in Norway, in Førde, with NOREC, the Norwegian Agency for Exchange Cooperation. I'm a geographer, and I have worked quite a lot in many different things, climate adaptation included. And coming from Peru, I was born and raised in a myriad of different natural disaster scenarios. Earthquakes are the most, the strongest. So my reflection here, or what I wanted to add, trying to answer this question of how could it be relevant for all these people that are mentioned in the question, computer sciences, social sciences, etc., to worry about these things, is that in the past years or so, decades, we have, as a society as a whole, become more detached from nature. We do not have those knowledge and skills that people maybe 100 years ago had about nature, about landslides, about flooding. And since we are becoming more and more specialized and we live in urban areas, etc., so we have missed quite a lot of that knowledge that we had previously because we were so much in contact with the land. In addition to that, extremely important factor in addition to that is that the weather and nature is becoming more and more unpredictable. So I do believe that it is very relevant for all of us to, in a way, maybe not necessarily being more in contact with nature, because we pride ourselves here in Norway to be very much in contact with nature, but to actually be in contact with the risks that are associated with nature. That's the end of my comment.
Thank you. Very valuable comment. And come with more of those on a later point. Okay, I'll move on then. And these are the sustainability goals, as you all can see. I have these are in Norwegian. You can find them in your own preferred language. They are translated to many languages. That's good. So if you can do that first, or just have a slide open that shows the sustainability goals. So now we are moving on to a new exercise. Every one of you, myself included, we have one sustainability goal that we tend to lean to. When nothing else works, we lean to the sustainability goal we know the best. I lean to number 3, good health, because that's I'm a health professional. So if you look at the sustainability goals and you choose 2 or 3 of them that you think are particularly important for your profession other than your regular ones, and just shoot. And there are no right answers. There are no wrong answers. There are just interesting reflections. And these exercises, they are very valuable in teaching in higher education, because it brings out the creativity in the students, so that you know. Yes, Paulo again.
Thank you. Well, I've worked, as I said before, with natural resource management and especially climate change adaptation. So the SDGs that are nearest to my heart are 13, 14, and 15. And I could argue for 2 hours why they are so important, but basically the main point here is that especially 14 and 15, they give the backdrop for all life on Earth, and where the ecosystems and all of our resources come from, both renewable resource and other types of resources. So without them, then we could argue that none of them could exist. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to share? which was first? Helga or?
Not me.
Okay. What's your name?
Hello. My name is Andile Mtombeni, and I'm based in Johannesburg, South Africa. Sorry that my name is not appearing. It's my work number that's appearing there. All is well. So currently I'm based at a university and I'm teaching first year medical students. So I am teaching a course on medical humanities, which is called Science and Art in health and learning. So I think for me, just like yourself, Irene, had mentioned that as a health professional, the most important goal, of course, would be that one on health. But at the same time, one of the modules that I do teach the students towards the end of the year is to draw an intersectionality between the SDGs and how that connects and links to the health profession and health. Because ultimately, when you look at all of these goals, one way or the other, it does speak to health in a way. So, for example, climate change is one of the case studies that I use for environmental rights. You know, when the environmental degrades, and I think we spoke about flooding just shortly. So teaching the students that as much as they're training to be doctors, but they also need to understand that the patients that they're going to be treating are people who come from certain environments, so that then how then do they holistically approach the issues and not just put a band-aid, but also look into solutions that come from the root causes of these problems. So, yeah.
May I ask you again? How do your students respond to what you are trying to teach them?
So this is a new teaching module that we are implementing actually this year as a pilot, where we are introducing this medical humanities to the university. Before, it wasn't really a thing. It used to be the sciences for the first years. That is, they would pick up the social science humanities subjects later in the public health, branching out in the later fields. So it's going to be the first time. So I'm going to be monitoring throughout the year how the first years in particular receive this information and how it's going to make them better doctors in the future, or hopefully tracking it as they progress in the years.
Super, thank you. Helga, you had your arms raised.
Yeah, but I can wait if there are some others in the line.
No. Your turn.
No, I guess I agree very, very much with the last speaker. I'm teaching physiotherapy, and my professional background is also from social science. And I think that this holistic perspective, that we need all the goals. I'm not able to pick only two. I need a lot of them, because there are so many things affecting the people's health, and that we have to work in different ways to solve it. And see, through education, through innovation, through trying to reduce the inequality. So there are so many factors. If we are really believe in this holistic approach, we need a lot of them, and to understand the connection between them. So if you have, as a social scientist, we have, there are some studies about this public knowledge that is decreasing at the same time as the professional knowledge increases. So from years ago, the people believed in their own knowledge. Now they only, if they have a problem, they only believe in the professionals. So this, we need to do something with that balance, because people need to get their knowledge back, and then of course we have to work through education about this. So there, I'm sorry, I am not able to pick only two. I need a lot of them.
That's good. Thank you. Anyone else want to jump in? Okay, then.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to also reinforce that idea that was just named or expressed now about the holistic view, and that's the whole philosophy of the entire SDG model. And there are some exercises that have been done by one or another United Nations office, where there are these desktop studies of how the SDGs are related between each other, and they're very, very good to analyze and see. I don't have them right now with me, but there they explain how all of them are related, and if one falls off or is not achieved, then actually the whole structure in a way weakens. So completely agree. So it is according to our own backgrounds, professional backgrounds, personal values, morals, beliefs, and ethics, that we would prioritize one or another, or two or three, but without all of them, then we don't achieve the SDGs as a whole, as an agenda.
Yeah, thank you. And maybe using time on these exercises and the interrelations between these SDGs may be a good exercise for students as well. So thanks a lot. That would be cool, I think. Moving on. And here's the little public health work that's coming. This I often serve my students. Where do we find the most important factors influencing public health? And the first thing that the students tend to lean to is that, okay, good working health systems. And then I say, okay, this is, yeah, some of it, but look at the environment. If we don't take care of the environment, we don't get anywhere. And then I take this one. This is a bridge outside Bergen. It closes when the winds are strong, and it's the only way to go by car for around 40,000 people outside Bergen. So if that bridge is closed and there's an emergency on the west side where they have no other option and the helicopters can't take off or land, the emergency is real. And this is just 15 or 20 kilometers from where I live, on the mainland in Bergen. And when I show this picture to the students, they are like, oh, okay. So strong winds may be influencing public health. Okay. And then I show them this picture, which is like a trash berg or something like that. And then I say, okay, what the pollution that we produce, the garbage that we produce and we throw in nature, that it affects us. It affects our health, and that often gives a good room for reflection. And then I say to them that if we focus on keeping 90% of the life outside the health sector might survive as well, because we are on the verge of collapsing. The health sector can't deal with the can't deal with the changes in the demographics that we are seeing the coming years. Yep. Let's move on a little bit. This is a new exercise. I did a little Google search on sustainable development technology, and I found these two images. The one on the with the strawberry is from forskning.no, and the other one is from UiT, the University of Tromsø, Health in Tech. And now I want you to tell me what immediately comes to mind when you see images like this. What associations do you get?
Well, I suppose I will yeah, to me, the most obvious is the support of technology and specifically artificial intelligence. That's what immediately comes to mind.
And my first thought is that we really do need good discussions what technology can do and what it not can do. So we use it, but not misuse it. Of course, we are happy for developing technology. It can contribute a lot, but there are some danger in this that we think that it can solve more than it really can. We need ethic and professional discussions about this.
Yeah, and I've had another thought. If we are going to lean on technology, we need infrastructure that can deal with this technology. We need computers that are strong enough to deal with all this information and to make sure it doesn't collapse at some point of the day, or and it's we have stable access to the software we need and to the information we need. What do you think about that? Yeah, from Johannesburg.
Thank you. I do agree with that. That as much as we are in the AI era, and we must embrace it and be open-minded to it. But at the same time, I do agree that we do need infrastructure. And I'll use the example of COVID. COVID really did teach us a lot if we were open to learning. And I use the example of COVID with the supply chain industry. We saw a lot of backlog with the supply. It literally fell apart. The system of supply chain completely came to a halt and a standstill. And the question, and then people started asking themselves questions as to, do we not have alternatives, to the current supply chain system? Like, we've never thought as a country, as a continent, as the global, as a world, as to what is an alternative should the system shut down. And indeed it did shut down, and we were where we were. So I think with AI as well, what happens when AI shuts down? What happens in Africa? We see a lot of internet shutdown, for example, where governments decide to shut down the internet because of the coups, elections, and whatever. So what's the alternative, and what do we do in such as this? So yeah, I do agree that we need infrastructure and backup and alternatives. Yeah.
Thank you. Joost?
Thank you. I think it's an interesting question also what you mentioned here in infrastructure. So do we need infrastructure? Yes, but I think that we also need an internal infrastructure in itself. How are we dealing with it? Because this looks like that we are on a path that we have, that we're moving more into control and even more details. Is that what we need? Is that what we want? So is it constantly in the more details, or do we have a choice in it? When do we want to have more details and more information? And when do we have a kind of an information overflow already? So can we also step out? So is there any other choice than just being into it? And I love technology, but I love also that we have a choice. That's also what our colleague just said. We have to prepare for a time then it isn't there. And can we still live? So it's kind of living with and without. It's not like having everything. That means that not only the external infrastructure, but also our mind and our thought infrastructure. Can we live with and without? Because there's a kind of vulnerability in here. And there's also kind of a weird promise, because that's what I hear quite a lot. So the moment we know more, we have more control. But then there's again, do we like more control? Or do we also sometimes just like to be in the world with the world? Also with the unpredictability which comes with it, because it will come anyway. So it kind of, it's a weird picture here for me.
Thank you. Anyone else want to share? Yeah, Pablo, thank you.
Really interesting discussion and conversation. And I would just like to throw in another factor that we would need to take into account when we talk about technology, is about the distribution and access to technology. As our colleague from South Africa was mentioning, the infrastructure, you raised the point of infrastructure, Irene. So the access to technology, access to the internet, access to data centers, etc., 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 is unevenly distributed. And so that also is a very big challenge that might, well, just continue or reinforce the differences between regions, countries, etc., that we need to try to rebalance.
Thank you. And then we are talking about fair and justice. We're into that as well, aren't we? Yeah. Because if the rich countries continue to grab more and the poorer countries are lagging behind, this can't go on forever. Okay, thank you, everyone. We'll go on. You can't rest just yet. If you are going to, you're going to think outside your regular box, and you're going to cooperate with someone representing another sustainability goal than the one you would regularly lean to. Who do you think might help you? Yes, Helga?
Yeah, as I said earlier, all these sustainable development goals are connected in this holistic perspective. But I think that teaching physiotherapy, we see that we are quite focused. We are used to be quite focused on the individuals, dealing with treatment and dealing with rehab, hub and rehab. And if we expand that, we work with them in groups. But we now try to understand how we also need to work with the society level to prevent more, to promote health earlier, so we don't need to treat so many and later. So I think we need this social competence, this people who understand the dynamics in society, and both between people, but also between institutions. And so this social level, this social knowledge, I think we definitely need.
Super. Anyone else want to share an idea? I think that I was just thinking, and right now that as a physiotherapist, I might meet people who have been exposed to drowning, and from my point of view, it would be really valuable to know more about what the oceanographers do, for example, and how they think and how they work and how they look at the waves and the sea. That was just one idea. And we're going to work more with sustainable energy sources. Could health professionals excuse me, make a contribution in those areas maybe? What do you think about that?
Think that you bring us something interesting here, Irene, because mostly we are constantly living in our own bubbles. We are thinking we're not connecting the dots, so we keep on sitting in the same silos. So even that we think, for example, as a physiotherapist, that we think, oh, occupational therapy is something different, which actually is just the same. It's in the same healthcare, so it's so much in the same domain. You can't see the difference if you're outside of the bubble. When I look at the differences, what you say, so if we go on the SDGs, I think that we have to go for radical inspiration by each other. Like when we talk with an architect or with a geographer, that makes it interesting. And how do we look upon the world from the different perspectives? Because we have different languages, we don't understand each other, and we have to cross bridges with each other. What does it mean? What does this other perspective bring to me and to this institution or to this world? What you said, what is it with water, for example? I've been also kind of interested in life below the water, which is not something that a physiotherapist will normally look like. But at the same time, water in itself is so a basic source of life and an ecosystem where we constantly can learn and can think of. So we have to expand each other towards the areas that we don't have a clue about. So the curiosity is maybe the first thing, and the openness towards the other. At the same time, maybe also to give up a little bit of our own autonomy, to be dependent on the others, like we have to dare to be dependent on the world. And that's also something with the SDGs in itself, I believe.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Anyone else want to throw in an idea or thought? Okay. Let me go on. another exercise. Okay. You're going to work in a project of your own profession, but without your regular tools. The aims that you have for your project, they are just as they would be if you could go on like before, but now you have to rethink. Among the tools you actually have are the other SDGs and the other possible partners than you normally would cooperate with. What would you do? Or who would you try to cooperate with? These examples I use with students all the time, and they often start out being really uncomfortable, but when they know I'm not trying to find a specific answer, they often are. They dare more. Yes, Pablo.
It seems like I talk a lot, but I think that's because I have a very long relationship with the SDGs and international development and trying to find those links. Let's say that well, my profession, not my actual profession right now, where I work a little bit all over the place in international exchange, etc. I don't know if you know what NOREC is all about, but it's about fostering exchange of people in between organizations in different parts of the world, and of course, including Norway. But I think in my past profession, where we basically focused on natural resource management and, in a way, SDG number 2, which is zero hunger. And I don't have any tools on how to deal with zero hunger according to this scenario. And if I would have to lend from another SDG, then the most important one that I would take with me, and I don't remember exactly what number it is, but they are those related to gender equality and of course, number 3, health and well-being. Gender equality is extremely important in many parts of the world, for women can have access to land and resources so that they can actually have the tools and credit and access to finance so that they themselves can farm. So if women had access to those resources that men usually have, then we would actually go a long way in reducing hunger in the world and access to food just by solving gender equality and access to so I think that's a very concrete example for your question here.
Super.
It's not about agriculture, it's not about different varieties of plants, or no, it's about women having access to that.
Super. Thank you. That's a very good example. That it brings a valuable aspect to this exercise. Anyone else want to? Yeah, Helga, come.
I find that I talk a lot too, but I think that there is one challenge that many professions share, and that is that we find a track and are kind of stuck in the track, that we do what our profession did last year and the year before, and for many good reasons connected to what we have tools for, what is in our identity, professional identity, and so on. So if I had to pick one of these other professions, I would like to discuss with those who are good in innovation to get us out of track, challenge us a bit, because we need new methods, we need new knowledge, we need to do things differently. Not all, I do not mean that all the thing we have done is outdated. A lot of that is quite workable also today, but we have to challenge these methods to supply them a bit.
Thank you. Who's next? I was thinking myself that because I'm stuck in the good health, but if I can't go to the good health SDG first, I would think if I could provide people with adequate education and reduce inequality, I think I would make a contribution to improving health in globally and locally, for that matter. Because even though I live in a rich country, we have increasing inequalities. We have too many people not having access, or not believing they have access to education. And so we have kind of a team and a B team in society that is increasing, and we seem not to know what we're going to do about it. What do you think when I say this? Could you relate to it?
I think it's interesting what you say here, is that we have a problem with looking at difficulties that surround us, because we are living in our bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, in being stuck on a road of comfortability. So we want to have comfort around our lives. So the comfort is not going to go up if we see the difficulties of people around us. So that's what we see. So we see it on the news, and then we are sorry, we feel compassionate, and then we switch to another channel. So we go back to daily life. I think this is quite a lot of things that happening, and we stuck more and more in our bubbles, also professionally. That means perhaps also, for example, in a profession that we think for, why does this profession in itself exist? So for what future societal dilemma might this profession be a solution, or by this work or this way of thinking or progressing? It means also that maybe we can, so when we go for possible SDGs of ways that we can think of in other ways, maybe we have to work with different groups. I can imagine sometimes the way that we are organized is kind of a bookshelf. So all the books are in a specific order. Sometimes it's really important that we just got all the books on the floor again, make a mess out of it, and start restructuring in a different way. So also the way of thinking, so that we think, oh, there are other options, but also to think of what you say here concerning the inequalities that surrounds us, because those are there anyway. Because it's kind of naive to say that, no, it's Norway, so we don't have them. No, of course we have them. It's the same as the Netherlands is everywhere. And do we dare to see the injustices that are around? And then I think in that kind of, when I follow your way of thinking, I thought it was Judith Clare who wrote The Many Faces of Injustice. So we, most of the time, we look upon justice and equality and equity from a positive perspective. And it means also that we don't like active injustices, but maybe the passive injustices are even worse. The thing that we know they are there, we choose to look around it. So we choose not to look upon it, to choose to not do anything. So it's not by doing wrong, It's actually by not doing anything at all. And I think that's something that we are sometimes surrounded, and I'm guilty to that one as well. So it's not like I'm looking at others, I'm doing the same thing, but it's something which is hard, and it's also something I think we should look upon. And it's also what Pablo was saying concerning inequalities or gender equalities. So there's a lot of things that we have to stand up, and we have to look. The moment that we don't do anything about something, maybe we and strengthen the patterns. So there's a lot of social practices and patterns that constantly keep on arriving. So we have to act upon it and take that responsibility with each other. So that was my reflection based on what you just.
Super, thank you. Anyone else want to share? Those who have talked a lot might as well share more if you have any more ideas. I'm very happy to hear what you're thinking. Okay, so this exercise is about universal design. Universal design contributes to social sustainability because it gives more people access to education, employment, housing, and transport. Which SDGs do you identify in this quote? And please give some examples and explain what you think.
Sorry, I didn't understand the question. Which
SDGs do you identify in
Okay.
this? In this,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Helga.
Maybe I'm a little bit struck too also in this innovation, but innovation, this goal is about innovation and infrastructure.
Yes.
And this is definitely a question of infrastructure, both the physical but also the way things are organized.
Mm-hmm.
So infrastructure, I think, is an important concept here.
Super, thank you. What do you think if I say that securing access to public buildings gives more people the opportunity to get education? And coming from the public health field, access to education and it is one of the best, if there's a good way, it's one of the best ways to be able to secure an income, have a job, secure housing, having access to what you need in life. And if you have a disability, whether it's visible or if it's not visible, if it's impossible for you to access educational institutions because of some kind of barrier, then we have kind of a double discrimination. Yes? I see you nodding here, Just, and the same with you, Helga. Could you share what you're thinking now?
But my thoughts are when we go to universal design. Though the first time I heard about it, sometimes I have an idea that universal design from some kind of the idea that one solution fits all. And this is not about that one. This is actually about diversity in itself. And at the same time, then every time that we create education, we have some assumptions behind it. On what is learning, how do people learn, and what is the concerning transmitting information or helping people to facilitate to grab knowledge or to construct knowledge. I think that universal design is here. The social sustainability means also that we have to go away from the normativity into the world. I think that a lot of times we think it's everybody is equal, so we have to have a system that everybody fits in. And then here, I think there's a kind of a difficulty. And back to the philosopher Hannah Arendt, who wrote in her book, The Origins of Totalitarianism, she started arguing about equality. Equality in itself is one of the most important aspects of human life. At the same time, it's not a human condition in itself. It's something that needs effort, that needs action constantly. Also, when we put equality at the center without the condition, you get normality. That means normality between one thing is normal and the rest is the outliers. That means exclusion in itself. What I think when we talk about universal design means at least that you constantly have to think, is this accessible for other people? And we don't have people who are all the same. People are different. So I think it's actually the embracement of the variation and the variation in people. That means that we are equal, have equal value towards life, but at the same time we are different. And that means a complete different understanding also in education. So probably our educational idea that we have a homogeneous class which we can put through the same funnel is something else. Then we have to adapt to the different elements there of learning and how to help people. I think that really helps to create a more social sustainability and also to learn to foster and to steward each other. Because if everybody is looking for the other and not only for himself or herself, then of themselves, I think then the world will be a better place for us all. And maybe this kind of utopian in itself, but it's something to strive for, to work for, and to put effort into. Although it's for the rest of our lives that we always have to put effort, I think it's worth it.
Thank you. Anyone else want to share? Okay. So now I have this kind of a cool picture here. This picture is from a course on wheelchair technique. It was held in August 2023. The participants on the course, they are mainly physios and occupational therapists. The instructors, they are people that use wheelchairs on a daily basis. Never have we learned so much about accessibility as those 2 days that the course went by. Did you know that cobblestone makes it very difficult to get around in a wheelchair? Or tram stops, bus stops, front doors, curbs, all you can think of. Those 2 course days, they made me think a lot about what can I do to what can my contribution be to improve participation in daily life among people with disabilities? What do you think? This example is here. These surroundings are from outside HVL. So some of the areas have high accessibility and easier to get around. But if you flip that picture around, there are curbs and cobblestones all over the place. The city center of Bergen is a nightmare when you're in a wheelchair, or you use or you you go around with a baby, or you are visually impaired, and you use this white pole. It's a nightmare. Do you have any examples from your context, maybe? What's it like in Tromsø, Rosa?
It's bad.
Bad?
Yes. Oh, I know a lot. I actually know a lot of people who decided to move from Tromsø because of lack of accessibility of parents with disabled children, for instance. I know many of them. So that is one part of that's one part of it. Mm.
What's so inaccessible for people?
I guess it is maybe the municipality has not been that aware.
Yeah.
The snow, of course, is a big problem. The climate, you know, we need to have a really well organized system for that, and we do. I mean, depends who we compare us with, but it still is a big problem, because it is not the landscape here, or the street and the city is not made for it. So compensating for lack of universal design is not so easy to go about, I think.
Thank you. Anyone else want to share?
Sure, I can have some comments. I was just checking out the indicators in SDG number 11. Number 11 is the one related to sustainable cities, and there are very specific indicators to universal access. If I would just have to pick an SDG, then it would be that one.
Yeah,
yes, go ahead.
Yeah, but that's very interesting that you say that, because the legislation on universal design is so weak, especially here in Norway. It's close to none. We have between 7 and 14% of all public buildings are universally accessible, and it hasn't changed in 10 years. So the debate goes between function and aesthetics, and it doesn't have to be like that.
And it also has to do with cultural heritage, you know, or we need to take care of the old buildings, and the old buildings are not necessarily very friendly to people with disabilities or in wheelchairs, etc., old people. So, yeah.
But even new buildings aren't universally designed. So, I don't know. Helga?
Yeah, I want to add some. I agree with you all. Many interesting comments. Thank you. We did in our teaching of physiotherapy students, we could expect our student to have a little bit more insight in this accessibility than others have. But when we give them challenges like this, they get pretty surprised because they didn't know, they hadn't noticed, they didn't have had no reflections about it. So I think this education or other tools challenging our attitude is important too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. Any other comments? Okay, thanks. Okay, now you have just a few more. Okay, you are going to meet a person somewhere in a poor area. I don't know where in the world. He's a hardworking man. He's struggling to have sufficient income to secure his family. He's working long days in a textile factory and he's having increasing pain in his body. Him and his family, they live in a crowded, noisy area with unstable access to clean water and sanitary conditions. How would working with the sustainable development help improve this man's situation, do you think? And link your choice to different parts of your professional practice and development. This too, I serve to students. So that, and in the first year, in the second year, in the third year of the bachelor's degree, to make them reflect on an early point. What do you think securing access to clean water would do to improve this man's health? And giving the man a decent income instead of an unstable income. How could that affect his health and his situation, do you think?
I hope that would lead him to have less worry. And we know that worry you get ill, sick from worries.
Mhm.
And also that he had income to maybe buy the medicine he needed or get the treatment he needed, or I mean, also know that the healthy food is more expensive, so he could buy more of the food that he got healthy from.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Super, thank you. Anyone else want to? Yeah, Johannesburg.
Thank you. So for me, I'm struggling. Well, I mean, of course, there is the short-term solution, like the quick solution that one can provide here. The issue of income, stable job, and all of that. But at the same time, in such scenarios, chances are this man is just one amongst 1,000 in that same community or same area. So if one is to really deal with this issue, one needs to attend to the structural injustices that have led to this man and many of his neighbors or people he lives around to be in such a similar situation. But of course that takes longer, that takes time to deal with. So as much as one reacts to the current problem at hand, the whole bandage framework and solution, but also one has to think outside that one man, that one individual, as to how do we then push for more sustainable change and sustainable development at a broader and larger scale, such that there's clean water, there's sanitary conditions, and the like, not just for him and his family, but also for the other people around him. Because one can give him a bigger income, but what about the neighbor? What about the other people around him? And also giving him a bigger income would mean him moving to a better place. Yes, affordability and all of that, but yeah, well, what about the others, but at the same time, how sustainable is that job and income, to the extent that what if he finds himself back into that same place and same area again? Yeah.
Thank you. So we are talking about reducing poverty, for example, in a broader context, and we are talking about reducing inequality. You agree with me? Yes. Yeah, super, very good example. Thanks a lot. Actually, we are starting to come to an end. This is went quicker than I was expecting, actually. Yeah. You're going to develop a new community service that aims at improving health, but you will have no access to health professionals in the project, and health services are not a priority. Suggest SDGs that can be relevant in this project. What would you do? This exercise I've had with my students as well, and it was very interesting. If I say that sustainable cities might be an important and communities might be important place to start.
A lot of teachers showed up in my mind.
Yes.
Teaching children to be a lot of knowledge that they can use in many directions, practical, theoretical direction, also building their self-confidence. So
and improving health.
Yeah. Next, in secondary, improving health. So teachers in schools are major importance.
Super. I totally agree. Okay. This is I think it's the last, no, maybe second last exercise. This I thought about a little bit, because I don't I have no experience in the agricultural field, but I was thinking this is an interesting one. You've been invited to give a speech about sustainable development in the agricultural department. And you know nothing about it. It's something totally different than what you work with in Norway. But amongst topics the department wants to discuss is education for sustainable agriculture. Obviously, the two SDGs number 4 and number 12, they are unavailable to you. So you have to think differently. How would you go by, and which other SDGs could be relevant, and why, you think? Could sustainable communities be one of the solutions or ways to go, maybe?
And I also think this is I've not reflected very much upon this, but this about equality between the genders.
Yes.
Because I think the genders have different ways of dealing with nature, understanding food, understanding. We have that in our own history, where the father in the family was doing the fishing, and the women were dealing with the farms at home. So I think there is a lot of we need all the perspectives on this, and maybe there are some different perspectives between the genders because they have different experience and knowledge, maybe.
Super, thank you. Okay. Actually, we are over time right now, so I don't think maybe you could take this home, this message home with you. Where do you think you find the most potential for collaboration and co-creation in professions working in the other SDGs than your own?
I think very many of them, but one of the challenges is that this is so complex, and we need to concentrate on one bit at a time, because if we want to maybe we have to focus on one bit at a time, because if you're going to change my profession's way of thinking, you can't change it all in all direction at the same time. So it's kind of how we build these walls of stones in Norway, as we have to take stone by stone.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Why not? So, okay. Just to wrap things up, these are just two nice pictures. There are no other aims than just to have something nice to look on from the western Norwegian west coast, and not in a windy and bloody day, just a nice summer day. And now it's time for me to say thank you for coming. And I hope you got some inspiration to for your maybe teaching, or maybe you had some new ideas yourself on what you want to work with. And if you want to share ideas and or discuss, this is my email. Feel free to connect.
And since you gave me the responsibility for the chat, Åse is saying thank you so much for good inspiration and good luck to us all to go on caring. And Juliana says thank you very much.
And thank you for participating, everyone.
Thank you from St. Petersburg. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, guys. Then we have a nice afternoon. We are having snow in Bergen. So time to say bye-bye.
Bye, all of you.